The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests. Epictetus. Good evening, everybody. How has your week been? My week has been good and tiring. So, my wife is back from her work trip. My son got sick yesterday, so my kid sitting continues. So all day today I looked after him. Next week is going to be a little bit busy too. I need to take some time out. See if I could actually do some turkey hunting on Monday and Tuesday. Most likely I won't have any luck, but still might as well just do it. Just even walking out into nature, even when it's cold, even if it's rainy, even when it's just horrible, I'm just glad I'm out there. As much as I love my family, my wife, my kids, it's that time apart that makes you really enjoy the time together type of thing, because you don't want to start going, man, I just really want to get away. I really don't want to get away. It's just be like, it's like, I can't wait till I go back to the kids, because standing out here or walking around looking for wild turkey seems like a waste of time and it's not as fun. So I want to get back to the kids. So you're back with the kids. It's like, yeah, I didn't really mind that they did all this stuff. So that's what happens. And then I have my daughter. She only has school on Monday and Tuesday. That because the whole Thanksgiving weekend. And I think also same with my son. Actually, yeah, I think that's true. So it's gonna be a lot of daddy daycare. Okay, let me get to the entrance. Introduction, same thing. All right. So you can always join me on my live streams, and if you the thing is, I would like it if you did join. The Zoom meeting link is here. You can click on that. You can be on camera with your microphone talking. You can call just on your phone or whatever device. You don't have to show yourself if you don't want to. I keep thinking of what's his name from Game of Thrones, Jon Snow. I don't want it. I was just kidding. Anyways, I don't know why that came up. You can donate to me via Bitcoin or Vertcoin. It's been $0 with cryptocurrency donations over 17 months. I want to at least make the record of having the longest amount of cryptocurrency donations possible without ever getting a cryptocurrency donation, and I'm actually doing a really good job. I think I've got the record so far. You can always check the cryptocurrency donations on a blockchain, which is this. I've had 2 transactions where I took it out of my Patreon to give to Susie Dawson when she needed it, and I took no money out of the Patreon that I set up. And the money I did was given to Susie Dawson. Nothing. That was no transactions on Vertcoin. I've had transactions on Google Super Chat or YouTube Super Chat, and thank you for all those that do. Even though Google and YouTube get a big chunk of it, you also have to reach like $100 threshold by the end of the month. So before you take any money out. So whatever. Easiest thing to do is just donate via paypal.me. And that was set up September 22nd, 2019. And the first video of the month, I just disclosed how much money I received, donations for the previous month and all months total. And to say my thank yous and all that jazz. Now, if you don't have any money, you can always prove the globe Earth, which should be easy, and you can get $15,000 from Zen Garcia. Take him to court. You know, donate a 10% finder's fee. Hey, donate 10% of that finder's fee before you take him to court, because you know it's pretty much a shoo-in that you can get that $15,000, right? So you don't even have to wait, you know, to to prove the globe Earth in court. Just you know, pay me the 10% ahead of. In advance, you know, the finder's fee, because you know it's going to be a shoo-in to prove the globe Earth, because it's been done over 2,000 years ago, right? Anyways, I do all this for free. None of this is gonna have any exclusive or additional content. If you're like a paying member for something or whatever, or if I don't know. It's just not. Everything's just out there. If at any time there's something that's not, you don't see anything like the full version of it, that's probably because YouTube took it down or blocked it. So I have to remove some of the content, edit it in order to put some of it up there. And if you want to watch the full thing, you could always watch it on these alternative sites like BitChute, LBRY, which you could probably find a lot of my older stuff, and you know, you can still watch some of the stuff that's on YouTube. Anyways, go to Flat Earth People Finder app, go and sign in. Hopefully I can start working on that sometime soon, but I just felt like I haven't done anything as far as getting people some content, some things that have been going through my mind, some things that I'm looking into, just kind of, I guess, having an uplifting message or something. And so people, come on in if you want to just shoot the shit. And I always wondered why they ever said that. What's the purpose of shooting the shit? Anyways, it sounds kind of cool, maybe. All right, so topic at hand. It is, so you gotta be kidding me. Okay, it was, never mind. I was looking at something. It was always meant to get worse on purpose. Anything that you could think about, anything external to you, because I guess I just have to use that quote, right? Epictetus quote that I had. Let's just go back. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests. I mean, if you think about it, you know, the 300 Spartans, that wouldn't be much of a story if they were just fighting like 50 Persians. You know, it's like, hey, 300 versus 50. What are you talking about? You guys outnumber them. Who cares? Yeah, you defended it. Yeah, but if they went against like 50,000, you're like, oh, what? What? Wait, 50 versus 300 versus 50,000? What? Are you serious? You know, it's kind of like that. So, and the interesting thing, and I did one on Marcus Aurelius. I really should do one focused on Epictetus. And I mean, this guy was literally a slave. Literally. Why is it that the British accent, they can't say literally? It's literally. I like saying it the way the British say it sometimes. It's just funner. And it's saying, well, if you really want your own power and be free, it's not the freedom that's that's to be gained in the world that we have, the external world. I mean, we can pretty much say we are free, but when we're not, even when we're not, because if there are ways, I guess, people could thwart your perceived freedom by blackmailing you in some way, not just because of what you've done, but what they would do to someone else. So it's like they're going to torture someone else that you care about if you don't do something. That's what I mean. And therefore, yeah, you got no fear of your own self. You just got fear of what people will do to others. But sometimes you realize, well, there's really nothing you could do to stop it in the first place. Wait, what was it? You just said funner. Funner is a good word. Funner. I'll use funner. Hey, if I say literally, I can say funner. Well, so this person was an actual slave until he won his freedom, and was just a philosopher's slave, unlike very much like Marcus Aurelius, who was a philosopher king. But then, if you put things into context, when you live life with strict moral guidance, like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, you would call them, I'm having a mind fart. Stoics, that's what they're called, kind of based off of Heraclitus. Now, these Stoics, they live life as they studied it. They did the research, they had their philosophy, their wisdom, and rather than just saying one thing and doing another, like hypocrites and other and sophists and things like that, well, they said it and they did it. And when you live that way and not really enjoying the fruits of the external world, well, you're actually still a slave to it, because you're choosing not to engage in the external pleasures of this world for the sake of being able to at the expense of others. Right? For example, great politicians today, and we're going to focus on Marcus Aurelius right now, the philosopher king. Politicians today, they're going to have, they're going to say they represent you, or they're going to say all these good things to make you vote for them. And yet when they're in office, they'll do almost the exact opposite. They live the good life. They take bribes. They take certain pleasures which they shouldn't, and they get away with it. And if they are to be tried and found guilty, it's going to be a lenient sentence. Basically, you're taking from others where they expect you to do a service for them, and you don't do the service for them. Instead, you just take advantage of it and just focus on the external pleasures. Now you've got these Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, who's a philosopher king. He's a king, mind you. He rules with authority, can just do whatever he wants. He has no expectations to serve the public for others. Yet he doesn't take those external pleasures for himself. Instead, focuses on what he can do to serve the public good, the individuals that he pretty much took it upon himself to take care of in what ways he could. He's a slave. He's a slave to his position as a king. It's not like he was voted in, that he was seeking it. No, he was born as a king, just like Epictetus was born as a slave. Yet in many ways, Epictetus was freer than, if that's even a term, than Marcus Aurelius, because Marcus Aurelius pretty much imprisoned himself into his own slavery by living the same philosophy as Epictetus. Yet Epictetus was on the very opposite spectrum, where he was literally a slave, but he was the king of himself. It's such an interesting polarity to talk about these two. But anyways, before I get even more into it was always meant to be worse on purpose, I think I would rather read some Epictetus quotes, and that may very much kind of help bolster what I'm trying to say as far as things have always meant to get worse, because there's many interpretations as to how things were meant to get worse, in very metaphysical, into physical, into whatever this is, reality, matrix, what have you. It's always meant to get worse on purpose, whether it's from a certain odd deity or non-deity or demi-deity, and or just humans in general, or what have you. You know, if you just think about, imagine just for some odd reason your mom ended up being the president of either your country or corporation or something like that. Just your mom, your ordinary mom. And she's going, well, I have to make a decision on this. I don't really know what this is, you know, but it sounds good. Someone wrote it up for me, and, you know, I just have to sign it, and everyone has to abide by it. And you look at it and you go, Mom, you know what this means? It means blah, 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 blah. And your mom's like, oh, really? It's like, wow, you're such a smart kid. So what do you think? Should I sign it? I go, no. I mean, this is obviously the worst choice you could possibly make. I mean, I the only way I could think that that whoever made this for you is to just make you look bad on purpose so they can step in and take over or something like that. Your mom's like, oh, no, dear, why would anyone want to do that? And so, you know what? Just stick to your school, sweetheart, and, you know, I'll handle all this stuff. And then she goes and signs it. It makes everything worse. And then the person who created it saying, you know, this was probably the worst idea ever, and that she signed it. You know, obviously we can't have this person in charge, so I'm just gonna go ahead and come in and handle all these things. And because they made things so much worse, they don't make things better. What they do is just keep blaming the person before, saying, look how much worse this is. You know, it was because of this person, and I'm here to make it better. And the thing is, if they make it better, nobody really cares. I mean, it's like, oh, it's so bad now. And it's like, you just got to figure things out. How do we make things not so bad? And, oh, this person's saying they'll make it better, and they're making it slightly better, I think. I mean, I don't see any difference, but it appears to look better. Oh, I got some D-Live guests. Hey, Dale Bowl, hey, Love Vibes. I should just go ahead and have that up, yeah, because you can't see it if you're just on YouTube. I was gonna read the Epictetus quotes later, anyway. But yeah, it's just They don't really have to make things better. They just have to appear like they're making things better, while at the same time actually making things worse. And by making things worse, they're able to make sure that they can put whoever they want to replace them, basically. Because they go, look, if I'm in office, I'm going to do this. And yeah, they're both going to blame your mom. And but they're never going to blame themselves. And they go, look, we got to fix this. We've been fixing it, and it's going to take a long time. You know, it's like when you break something. It's easy to break. You know, you break it in an instant. But to fix it, you know, it's going to take time. So all the stuff that you see externally that you have no control over, that really doesn't affect you in many ways. I mean, it may. You just figure it's easier to navigate around these things. And you just go, well, I mean, we're getting screwed and we know it. But what's the point of it? Well, there's many points to it. I mean, it's just so much good things with dealing with philosophy. I mean, things you can't control. Like look at this pimple, right? Like I popped my pimple right here. It couldn't have been in a better spot, you know. At least if it was in the center here, like right there, I could just kind of make a joke that's my third eye, but it's not. It's just slightly off center. I can't do anything about it. But it's not going to stop me from doing what I want to do or say what I want to say. I'm still showing you my pimple that I popped on this live stream. So, you know, that's part of it. Now, I'm going to go ahead. Ooh, whatever I was drinking does not taste very good. Yeah, here we go. So some Epictetus quotes, which I like. And then we're going to probably go through Epictetus and a lot more other things eventually. And Love Vibes, I looked through John M. Allegro's stuff. Pretty fascinating. He's still got some videos of him, actually. I'm a little bit reserved, but I think I'm going to keep investigating. There's more that I do want to see. And that he was censored at that time. I mean, this was like in the late, but not too late of the 20th century. It's like we see censorship now, but man, censorship has been around a long time. And kind of did some investigation of like the Polynesians. I don't know if that was similar to John M. Allegro's work, not quite, but it's an interesting read because they're from Armenia, and then Armenian genocide by the Turks occurred before World War I, and interesting how the Armenians have been persecuted for such a long time. Makes me think about why. Anyways, it's always gotten worse for them, that's for sure. I don't mean to laugh about how bad it is for them, but it's I don't have any control over that. I don't have any control over anything bad that happens to other people, because I'm not the one doing the bad things. Now, if people want to not have bad things happen to them, well, when bad things happen to you by bad people, well, you should do something about it, right? Okay. Some quotes. Epictetus. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would have mentioned these alone. There's another quote that's similar to that. We may be able to see it, but I think it's good. Basically, he's stating that, hey, if someone tells a whole bunch of lies about you, well, if there's any truth to them, yeah, focus on those and try to change those. And the rest, well, just laugh at them. You know, they're just lies. So it doesn't really affect you, right? Because they're just lies. But if there's any truth to any of those that person mentioned, well, that's something you should think about. All right. Another one. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. I think that is true. Because no matter how wealthy you are, and we see this externally with the billionaires and millionaires, like, well, they're the richest people in the world. What more could they want? Well, we just see they seem to keep wanting more, and we call it greed. And it's like, I don't get it. Why would you want more? You have pretty much everything. But they're not happy. They're not content with what they have. They always want more. So, are they really wealthy? No, not really. They just have a lot of external material that represents something. If you call that wealth, well, that's the materialistic view of things, but I wouldn't call that the correct answer. Epictetus, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Simply put, the fewest words as possible. This is what I love about Stoics versus the Sophists. Sophists use rhetoric, and in using rhetoric, they just have to keep talking. Even if they're wrong, they just keep talking. They don't even remember what they say. I mean, heck, who was it? Tim Osman. Not Tim Osman with a Z, but Tim Osman with the S, who's the globe earther, not the flat, infinite plane earther. Right? Tim Osman comes in, starts trying to persuade me with his rhetoric, and says something obviously false, contradicts himself, and I tell him, hey, I don't get it. Why are you saying this now? You just said the opposite. He goes, no, I didn't. And I go, yeah, you did. Here, let me play it back. And he just keeps talking. Now, that's rhetoric for you. Now, here, it's something simple. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Case closed. You don't have to say anymore. You don't have to persuade people to follow your own philosophy. Listen, if you have your own philosophy, don't explain it. Just live it. Embody it. Perfect. I mean, as close to perfection as you could get. Here's another quote. There's only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power or our will. And, yeah. I mean, just think about how worse everything is getting externally. You can see it on the news, the mainstream media news. Heck, you can even see it on alternative media. You can see it in just things that you really loved. I mean, who here thinks movies are getting better? I don't think movies are getting better. I think they're getting worse. What about books, TV shows, politics, government? I mean, just think of anything. Is it getting better or worse? Comic books, even. I mean, the list goes on. I think a majority of people saying, no, it's not getting better. Video games, a lot of people play video games. Do you think they're getting better or worse? I mean, and the best way to think about it is, well, what game did you enjoy playing the most? That's one way to put it. And also, what games are you playing the most? Are you still playing a game that was made 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago? It's like, why? If video games are getting better, shouldn't you be playing the latest and greatest every time? But not necessarily. So, it pretty much pervades everything. And you can't. There's no reason to worry about these things. Because why do you worry that these movies are getting worse? Why do you worry that these games are getting worse? Why do you worry about the government and politics getting worse? You can't do anything about it. I mean, I've tried. I know other people who've tried, and at the most, you just have to convince other people what's going on, and they're gonna be like, whatever, crazy. Um, or you just pick a side and you just hopefully you can persuade or whatever people to choose your side over the other side. And you have different tactics you can use. We've all seen them before. You could be like the guilt tripping Jewish or Korean mom, because I don't know. My mom was very similar to what a lot of Jewish friends. Their moms are like, it's like, oh, are you gonna really make me, you know, you know? They use the guilt trip. You know, I can't believe you're doing this to your own mom. There's the other stuff. It's like, if you're not with us, you're against us, or you're a misogynist, sexist. Add whatever box that they can put you in. You're that. And you're like, no, I'm not that. Well, yes, you are. Well, I don't want to appear that way. Well, so you just take their position. Take the position. Bend over. Okay, I don't know why I'm going there. Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Now, I'm getting stuffy. I think I'm getting sick because of my son. So give me a second while I'm off screen and blow my nose. Oh, that was not fun. Plus, I'm out of tissue, so next time I have to do that, I think I'm just gonna log off. But it's been 34 minutes, and I do want to read a little bit more of these quotes, and then just kind of tie it all in at the end, if I can. All right. Don't just say you have read books. Show that through them you have learned to think better, to be a more discriminating and reflective person. Books are the training weights of the mind. They are very helpful, but it would be a bad mistake to suppose that one has made progress simply by having internalized their contents. Yes, that's crazy to think that this person had all this type of wisdom way back. You know, it is. I think it's quite amazing. You could be the most intellectually smart person in the world. Heck, you could even be have a supercomputer mind. But none of that has any weight if you can't make a decision in some sense from learning all those things from books. I think I read in some forum, I think it might have been Quora, where they're going, hey, can you reach salvation or enlightenment? I think that was the correct term. Can you reach enlightenment by having read all the books, especially all the scriptures and things like that, just on their own? Oh man, sorry, you're gonna have to listen to that. And a couple of people answered, and I was like, well, you're at most you're gonna be able to learn how other people attained enlightenment. It's autobiography, or maybe even biography. I mean, everyone who's ever reached so-called enlightenment has never left anything behind. Never wrote a book or anything like that to leave behind for others. And I think that's the entire point, because they wouldn't be learning or figuring out how to reach enlightenment on their own, and they'll just keep trying to repeat what they did, and that's not gonna allow the person who's reading it to reach enlightenment. So I would hazard a guess to say no, you won't reach enlightenment by having read everything that's canonical or otherwise. It helps to get understanding, but not necessarily. It won't get you to where you want to go. Every book has an end. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Yeah, I think you have to know thyself type of thing, right? And it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Yeah, I think that is also great. Because people and groups, I've always been, oh, look what happened to me, or look what happened to us. You know, we should get things handed down to us because of what happened to us. But you never hear about those people and those groups where they reacted to it to prevent it. They didn't play the victim. They played the defender, and they don't say, "Hey, we should be, I should be, or we should be entitled to this because of what happened to us." It's like, but nothing happened to you because you responded in a way where you prevented that thing that happened to you from happening. So why should you be entitled to it? On the other hand, you got the other person or the other group who is the victim and just succumb to it and go, well, we should, we couldn't do anything to stop it. We would have just been in a worse position or dead. So, we should just be entitled to things because. I just think that's an interesting way to put things. Maybe not to you, but that's to you. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I mean, what is that other saying that's kind of recent? It's like, I wish I could remember. But when people want to try something new, other people who just say, look, we've been doing things this way for a very long time and it's worked out well, and you're gonna go ahead and try something different, haha. And then you got this person who tries something different being successful, even if they weren't successful at first. They understood their mistakes, bypassed those problems or fixed them or whatever, and they got things how they wanted to be. And it's like, look who's laughing now, haha. Of course, the people who are making fun of them, they don't care. It's like, whatever. It's like, enjoy your success. Hi, Double. Thanks. It's not. I guess. Yeah, sure. We could use a lot more philosophy these days. Wow, here's a big one from Epictetus, Manual 51. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself and in no instance bypass the discriminations of reason? You have been given the principles that you ought to endorse, and you have endorsed them. What kind of teacher, then, are you still waiting for in order to refer your self-improvement to him? You are no longer a boy, but a full-grown man. If you are careless and lazy now, and keep putting things off and always deferring the day after which you will attend to yourself, you will not notice that you are making no progress, but you will live and die as someone quite ordinary. From now on, then, resolve to live as a grown-up who is making progress, and make whatever you think best the law that you never set aside. And whenever you encounter anything that is difficult or pleasurable, or highly or lowly regarded, remember that the contest is now. You are at the Olympic Games. You cannot wait any longer, and that your progress is wrecked or preserved by a single day and a single event. That is how Socrates fulfilled himself, by attending to nothing except reason in everything he encountered. And you, although you are not yet a Socrates, should live as someone who at least wants to be a Socrates. And it is good stuff. Look, when you were a kid, and I have to say, for me, when I was a boy, I always wanted to be a man. Oh man, hold on. Ooh, luckily I had some spare tissue in my pockets that were meant for my son. All right. You know, when you're young and you want to be a man, and something happens, and you do things to prove that you're a man to others, especially say your father or your father figure or someone grown up that you respect. There you go. See, I'm a man. Look at me do this. See, I mean, the idea though is that you shouldn't have to prove that you're a man to anybody else. When you are a man, you don't prove it to anyone but yourself. And I think that might be the easiest explanation for this. And when you realize that you are a man, you realize what you need to do when the time comes to do what needs to be done. And you're not going to go ahead and do certain things out of expectations of someone else, so that you are perceived by them to be something that you most likely are not. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. Seriously, it just comes. So if I'm saying it wrong, right, it's not like anyone else is coming on here, but I just realized that maybe someone was coming on here. I just didn't put the play, chime, and exit. So now I will know. But usually someone will say something in the chat. The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. I think that's also a good one. I mean, there's a lot of people who are negative, but that's fine, like pessimistic. But as long as they're not the ones that are just pulling you down every time you try to pull yourself up, I think those types of people who, if we regard society and things like that, it's like they don't care how good things are for you, as long as never mind, sorry. Misery loves company. That's just another way of putting it. Some people are just miserable, and they don't want to get themselves out of that misery. And if they see anyone else getting out of their own misery, they just will do whatever they can to make their life miserable, so they can stay miserable with other people. Pretty horrible, but it does happen. And some people, I think if you look throughout your own history, you'll see a lot of these things come out at you. And I think it's good to reflect on your own life that you lived. Oh man, yeah, I'm probably not gonna last very long tonight. Sorry, folks. Oh, I have a feeling. See, it's horrible. Every time my son gets sick, I happen to get sick. And I mentioned to my wife, what's interesting? The women in this household do not get sick, and if they do, not for very long. It's the males who get sick quite often. Why is that? Isn't that an interesting coincidence? All right. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him. Yeah. This quote right here is perfect example of trolls and people who get trolls and are controlled by trolls for very independent people who are content creators and take a side or an opinion, or otherwise someone who just wants to expose the lies and tell the truth. You got a lot of people who are unknown, no names, no faces, and you are constantly bombarded and attacked and ridiculed, etc. Um, they're not very, they're not very brave, but they just want to see if they could make you angry. And I always laugh at that because I always thought of myself as more of a troller of trolls. People come in and try to troll me, and they end up getting angered and triggered themselves, and so thus I become their master. I think it's just great. That's why I don't seem to have that many trolls. I mean, I would love to have more trolls. I mean, I would get more views. I would get probably a lot more people coming in that aren't trolls because of these trolls, and just expose them for idiots and how much I'm their master. But unfortunately, they avoid me like the plague now. But some people, they don't even want to live stream because of trolls. They don't even want to upload videos because of trolls. It's just like people who don't want to be blocked or copyright struck or whatever, so they self-censor themselves. Self-censor. Sorry, it's the stuffy nose talking. So yeah, don't let anything like that affect you, especially with anger. Anger doesn't make you think straight, and that's the response that many try to elicit from you, is your anger. He who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at. Yeah. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And that's what made Epictetus more free in some regards than Marcus Aurelius. Even though Marcus Aurelius was a philosopher king, and he lived the same philosophy as Epictetus, as a Stoic. But the thing is, Marcus Aurelius, not many things were beyond his control because he was the king. He could dictate things. He can, there are things he can't do. Like if someone steals something from someone else, he can't stop it. What he could do is he can instruct guards to be a little bit better at seeing these things happen. He can punish the thief, have legislation of saying, hey, if you do this, this is what's going to happen, type of thing. I mean, those things are within his control to do, whether if it's for the benefit of others or not, but, it's still beyond his control if they want to steal things, even with the repercussions that may come. Other people's views and troubles can be contagious. Don't sabotage yourself by unwittingly adopting negative, unproductive attitudes through your associations with others. Yeah. It is contagious. Whether it's that negative pessimism, right? But I think what's great is when you're in that moment when you've got a whole bunch of optimistic people who, throughout continuous effort or failure, they just keep trying, and they know that they can succeed and figure it out, and they do. And when that happens, everyone is so excited and happy, and knowing that they all did it together and they didn't, take any steps back because of that, their just their thought process and that their attitudes. It's like, you may have one person that or a few that's this is impossible, we're never gonna do it, let's just leave it and go home and all this other stuff. And now it's like, no, we can do it, no, we can't, let's take a new approach, come on, let's take a break for a while, get our change our behavior or something, and just take this from a new take. And it's just always that positivity. And that's what gets things better. And yet, excuse me, that's few and far between nowadays. Things get worse on purpose. And this is kind of where I've been trying to get at, is it's done with all these things that we cannot control, so that we understand how we would want to make things better. And when we have that opportunity to make things better, we don't hold back. And throughout there's this, I think, imagine if there is your one external savior, Jesus Christ come again type of person, or your Messiah that hasn't been, eventually appears, takes you out of this world and all this other stuff, whatever it is that you believe. Imagine that the only way that person, to prevent that person from the evil side, or whatever you want to call it, is to make that Messiah or second coming, whatever, to not care about any of the people that they're trying to save. I mean, could you imagine that being coming and saying, man, there's billions of people that I could care less about. Why am I sacrificing them? And then, it's not necessarily that. It's like, well, there's a few here. Despite all of that, day in, day out, looking optimistically, trying to improve the world, trying to not put others down, trying whatever they can to help others despite themselves and all this other stuff. It's like, well, all of these people could probably become like them. They just have to learn. And therefore, everyone is worth saving. And maybe all these people were just brainwashed, or sorry, I had a stuffy nose. Despite themselves, knowing themselves, or being manipulated, and thus that's not them themselves. It's their persona. It's to appear similar to others so they can exist in the system and have acquaintances and things like that. But deep down inside, they're good people. It's just like the eternal optimist, I guess, sees the good in people no matter what. Just like the pessimist sees the worst in people. But I think no matter what, the optimist has to win out. Because the optimist is the anomaly of the pessimist. Because the pessimist thinks that everything is the worst and no one is good. And you got the optimist saying everyone has the potential to be good and it's gonna happen. So no matter what, as long as the optimist lives on, the pessimist is always gonna be wrong. And pessimists should probably see that. So I would probably love to just do an Epictetus live stream one day, so I'm gonna leave it at that, folks. Thank you for joining, and basically, things that are outside our control, they're worse on purpose, by design, by planning, by accident, by what have you. It's all made worse. But the idea of it is, despite things getting worse, you become better. As an individual, as a group of people who see things in that optimistic way, and that there's, no matter what, I think it's more of like, this is kind of something that I was not quite thinking or dreaming. It's one of those waking dreams, thoughts type of thing. But the light source itself doesn't see things from its own light source. I haven't found the right words to put it. Just I mean, they're just, in some ways it's kind of, what's that term? Imagine you've got a really dim flashlight, right? That's your light source. And it's like, man, I can't see anything. My flashlight, the batteries are low. And someone else who's got no flashlight sees things from your flashlight. Is like, oh man, I'm glad you had that flashlight. I couldn't see anything. It's like, well, I can barely see anything with my flashlight. What are you talking? Well, I don't have a flashlight, so obviously your light is better than mine, so I can see at least. So yeah, people don't think of things in perspective to others in certain ways like that. And then someone else, you're going, hey, what's that over there? And it's like big beam of light. It's like, oh man, you've got a great big light. We both can see so much more because of that. The person with the big light is, what are you talking about? I can't see anything. It's too bright. Right. Everyone just kind of, sometimes it's hard to know what you've got compared to others unless you compare yourself to others. And then when you realize others saying, oh man, thanks for providing what you provide, because I didn't have anything that could help me. It's like someone else going, well, I'm glad it helped you because it doesn't seem to be helping me. And it's like, hey, can I borrow your flashlight? It's low on batteries. Yeah, but it's my eyes. Everything's so bright. I think I'd be better off with yours. Can we trade? Isn't that beautiful? All right. Thank you for joining me, everyone. And have a good weekend if I don't see y'all again. Things are going to be quite busy for me month of November, but I'm going to try to do some of these live streams if I can, especially during at night when I have time and stuff like that. But we'll see you again. We'll see each other again. Can't even say words correctly anymore. And now you can see I'm definitely stuffed up. What am I going to do? All right. Have a good night. Let me try that again. No. How do I? Oh, yeah.